as you can tell by the title of the video, we are going to be talking about my first year as a travel nurse and my experience, what I wish I knew, what I've learned thus far, the things I do and I don't like. Like, can y'all believe, like, it's literally been a whole entire year since I have been a travel nurse. I believe I started my first assignment like October 16th and it's like October 20th. Like, time has flown. So just to give a little backstory, because I always get a lot of people just kind of coming in who just only want information about travel nursing and they don't really want to know about me as an individual. But basically, I have been a nurse for a little bit over 2 years now. I started travel nursing at like 17 months. My specialty was med-surg tele, so more so a tele nurse. I've worked in a hospital that whole entire time. I've never worked anywhere else other than a hospital. I work night shift. What else do you guys usually ask? Well, now I have my BSN, but when I initially started travel nursing, I only had my associates in nursing. So I was a registered nurse, but only with my associates, not with my bachelor's. But now I do have my bachelor's, because I get a lot of questions. People asking, can you be a travel nurse with just your ADN or ASN? And yes, you can. You do not need your bachelor's. What else can I tell y'all? I think that's pretty much it, like, as far as what's important. All right, so let's just go ahead and dive right into the video. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I think I've said this plenty of times, but you need to work with multiple agencies, and that's what I didn't really necessarily learn that. I kind of already knew that, but I've only actually taken contracts with one agency, and that is Aya, for you guys who don't know. I've tried to work with Medical Solutions, Emerald, Nomad, who are some other ones? When I say it's so many agencies, I'm talking about it is thousands of agencies. And I always get the question, like, who is the best? Who should I work with? Who you had a good experience with? And honestly, it's Aya. I've heard different things about Aya. Some people say they haven't had a good experience. Some people have told me that they haven't got paid on time. Some people told me that their recruiter was trash. And I never had that experience. I've always gotten paid on time. I've always gotten paid accurately, except for one time. And that was because they have like people for every department. They got your recruiter, they got somebody who handles your check, they have somebody that handles compliance, and the lady who was doing my check, I don't know what she was going through, but she ended up messing up on my check. But out of the whole year, that is the only time I've ever had an issue with my check. I've never had any other issues other than that. I like them. Aya has really good insurance, which is why I stick with them most of the time, and their rates are always better. Anytime, I'm not necessarily going for the best rate or the highest rate with me. How I travel is kind of like strategic. For instance, like here in Atlanta, like I don't plan on traveling outside of the state just for a little while, just because I'm tired and I want to sit down. So I'm not necessarily looking for the highest paying contract. I'm just looking for something that's decent enough to make sure that I can pay my bills and live the life that I want to live. And so I guess that's what determines, you know, where I go and who I stay with. But I've never had any issues with Aya thus far. But like I said, what I do know is that you need to work with multiple agencies, and also don't be loyal to any agency. Like, I love my recruiter, she cool, but if somebody was coming with a better package, she understands. Like, it's no hard feelings. She understands. Like, I gotta get my money, she gotta get her money. Like, there is no loyalty at all. So don't feel like you have to stay with the agency. Don't feel like you gonna let your recruiter down. Like, if you get a better pay package, go where the money resides. Like, it's not, I think a lot of times we think a little bit too deep about it, but honestly, they already know how the game is. They understand that we are out here trying to get our coins. And it's simple as that. It's no hard feelings. So I definitely learned to work with multiple agencies. Also, with saying that, when you get on a contract, I learned it's good to kind of just talk to other travel nurses. Most of them, I would say, gauge the person that you're talking to, because sometimes people can be like secretive and they don't want you to know how much money you make, how much money they making, or whatever the case may be. But every contract that I've had, I've found at least one or two nurses where we are discussing what our pay package is, and they might find out that they making more money than me, or I'm making more money than them. But ultimately, like, if you do find out that somebody is making more money than you, you should be able to hit up your recruiter and say, hey, somebody started the same time as me, making way more than me, was good. I've done that twice. My last contract, somebody was making like $20 more than me. And that's another thing about it. Like, it's always extra money. Like, I feel like they are going to pay you the minimum that you will take that looks good, but there's always room for an increase. So I found out that somebody was making not $20, she was making $10 more than me. I told my recruiter, I showed her the pay package, and it was no issue. I was getting that rate, that new rate, that same day. So I will say, you know, get to know your fellow travel nurses, you know, within your unit, and talk. Like, I mean, of course, don't be talking about something, yeah, girl, what you making? But get to know them, get comfortable with them, and then see how much they making. The girl who was making more than me, she had no problem giving me her pay package so that I could show to my recruiter. Even though she was working for a different agency, Aya was still able to honor that rate. So I will say, a word of advice is, like I said, get to know the other travel nurses, listen to how much they making, what their rate is, because always going to want to, because obviously you want to get the best rate possible. Don't be afraid to negotiate your rate. Don't be afraid to go to another agency. Don't feel like you have to be loyal to your recruiter. Like, again, like I said, they understand this is a business on both ends. Your bills have to get paid, and they got to get paid as well. So that's my spill on that. Another thing that I am starting to recognize is, or what I recognized in the beginning, is when I first started travel nursing, I was at the I guess COVID was kind of dying down a little bit, and so my initial rates that I was getting, I think I was only getting like $2,500-$2,600 every week, and that's still good money. However, those are typically like the normal rates, because I know a lot of people ask on my video where I showed y'all an actual check where I was getting paid like $4 something a week. People were asking, like, are rates still like this? And that's the thing, like, the rates do fluctuate, and I always have to remind myself, like, I was making that almost every 2 weeks. And so I have to always remind myself when I'm coming down from these high paying contracts, like, girl, this is still good money. $2,600 every week. I'm sorry, $2,600 every week is still good money, even though it's not 5, 6. You know, it's 10K assignments out there. And so I do have to remind myself, like, chill out. Like, you getting beside yourself. Like, this is still good money. But there is a difference between those COVID rates and regular rates. And from what I'm seeing, regular rates honestly can range. I've seen rates for like $800 every week, which is ridiculous. I don't know who's picking up those contracts, but like a good paying normal rate can be anywhere from like maybe $1,800 to like $2,600, $2,700. Those are still decent contracts, depending on what your financial situation is. I know some people will be like, that's not enough, and some people might be like, yeah, I could do that compared to what I was making. So I would say definitely keep that in mind. These COVID rates are not going to last forever. And with saying that, which brings me to my next topic, a lot of people ask, like, well, I only have 1 year experience. Is it good enough? And I always say, get your skill set up, because when you go into these hospitals, this is not the time for you to be trained. This is not the time for us to be teaching you how to be a nurse. This is not the time for us to tell you stuff like that. This is just not the time for that. They are hiring you to meet a need. And sometimes when you get there, you don't know how bad that need is until you get there. And that's the thing that you have to be comfortable with when you are doing travel nursing, that I learned. And I'm surprised that I have kind of been cool with it, because considering the type of person I am, I don't like change that much. But I guess I'm in the wrong profession if I do that. I guess I've just become accustomed to just being a nurse, but you definitely have to be accustomed to like change, and you have to be okay with it. You have to be flexible, you have to be good with change, and you need to know your shit. You need to know your stuff. Your skill set needs to be good, because this is not the time where they're going to train you. Sometimes you might not even get a day of training. Sometimes It was a contract that I was on where I literally had orientation, and then the first half of the day, and then the second half of the day they put me on the floor, and then my next shift I was by myself. So that's what I mean by like, make sure that your skill set is up to par, because when you get there, they are not about to baby you. Like, if you don't know a system, like some people like, oh, I've never used Epic before, I need multiple days of training. No, they're not going to do that. Like, you're not there to get multiple days of training on a computer system. You kind of just learn as you go. Like, that's the thing about being a travel nurse. Like, you kind of get in where you fit in, pick up what you can, ask questions, observe, and that's what makes you an asset. Like, you are able to just kind of be flexible and maneuver in situations that are not necessarily ideal. So I definitely learned that. I honestly really didn't have a problem transitioning just from like a staff nurse to a travel nurse. I think I worked in a pretty difficult unit, and it prepared me for being a travel nurse. I showed y'all like a day in the life of one of the contracts that I was on, and it was pretty rough, and that was actually my first assignment, so I got broke in real quick. But I don't think I really had a problem transitioning. Like, no matter where you go, like, nursing is nursing, literally, no matter where you go. You are going to be able to see something and know how to troubleshoot it. Worrying about, I would say worry less about the type of equipment. Like, almost every hospital I've went to has had some different type of pump or some different type of protocol or how they do things. Like, you will just learn that as you go. Like, that's really honestly like the least of your concern. And the staff nurses know that. Like, the staff nurses know that you have to learn the protocol and how to do things and how to do a pump. The main thing they want to make sure you know how to do is be a nurse on your own. Now, that's not to say that you can't ask questions or ask for a second opinion or nothing like that, but don't go in there thinking somebody about to hold your hand, because they're not. So I don't know if I necessarily learned that, but I do understand that that is a very important factor when determining if you want to be a travel nurse. So that is definitely an important factor when I am choosing hospitals now. Now, I've gotten to the point, y'all, where I don't want a hard assignment. I don't care if I work in a trauma level 1 hospital or I really don't care. I want easy assignments. I want patients who are not like deathly sick. I know that sounds crazy, because when you're working in a hospital, everybody is pretty much sick. But you'll start to see, like, when you get these different assignments, like, there's levels to sickness. You got people who come in for like petty stuff like runny noses and dog bites, and you got people who are like literally dying on their deathbed. I don't want a hard assignment. I have put in my time. I have nothing to prove. I don't care what my resume looks like. Give me an easy assignment. And so I always pay attention to that now when I'm picking different hospitals. Like, don't send me, like, the hospitals down here are Emory, Piedmont, and Wellstar, and what is the other one? Emory, Piedmont, and Grady. I heard Grady is like, I don't know. Those are big hospitals with very sick people. I have no intentions on wanting to work for them, like, ever, because I know when I get there, I am going to be working, and I'm not in a space where I want to work hard like that. I feel like we already do enough as nurses, and so when I pick my contracts, I am basing it on how many beds they got, what computer system they use, and how many patients am I getting on my shift. That is it. I don't want, like I said, I don't care if you a trauma hospital and it look good on my resume. Like, I don't have anything to prove. I have enough travel contracts under my belt where people know, like, oh, okay, like, she knows what she doing. She done been around the block a few times. So I would definitely say keep that in mind. That's what I've learned thus far, and that's what I will continue to do, like, picking my contracts from here on out. So what I also learned when it comes to money, and what I would recommend, is to get you a financial advisor. I have never made this type of money like this in my life, and so I wanted to make sure I was doing the absolute best, like handling that money the absolute best. Now, I'm not a big spender or splurger or anything like that, but what I found was that my money was just sitting around and I needed to do something with it. And so I did get me a financial advisor, and he kind of just directs me on what I should be spending my money in, what I can dabble into, what I have enough for, if I could be taking vacations every month or having a fun account, stuff like that. Like, he helps me manage my money in that way. Like, I'm pretty good with, you know, paying bills and being responsible in that matter, but he has helped me understand where my money can go. Why are you coming here looking at me like that? So I would definitely say get a financial advisor. Also, what I learned is because when you make more money, you have to pay more taxes unless you have a business. Because I'm thinking, like, how are all these billionaires paying $10 in taxes? Y'all want to know how much I had to pay in taxes? I had to pay $4,500 in taxes. And it wasn't because I was claiming 99. Like, I was letting them take out everything. Please take all of your money. That is one person I do not want to owe, is Uncle Sam. And I still end up having to pay that much in taxes. I think I made $100,000 last year, which is cool because I have it to give back, like to give to them. But it's like, who wants to pay $4,500 in taxes? So what I learned is that I need an actual tax professional, because what I was doing my taxes myself. When I was just making, like, what was I making as a regular staff nurse? Probably like $40,000-$50,000. I was always getting money back. I was doing my taxes on my own and it was fine. But once I started to make more money, I needed to figure out more ways or more things to write off or more deductions. And so this time around, this year, I will not be paying that much because now I have a professional taxpayer who works with travel nurses and can help me better, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess not have to pay that much money back. What I learned that I was doing was I wasn't giving the government enough. I thought that I was. Like, I wasn't trying to hold any money for myself. I'm like, y'all take whatever is due to y'all, and I still end up having to pay more. So I would definitely recommend, like, when you start doing this, to have somebody who is good with your taxes, so that you don't have to end up, I mean, ultimately, when you are making money like this, $4,500 is nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could pay that with one check. However, it's just the principle. You don't want to, especially if you don't have to. Like, when she went over, my tax preparer went over my taxes, she was like, there's no reason why you should have paid that much money. Like, there were so many things that were missed where we could have, like, reduced that amount of money. So I would definitely recommend get you a tax professional to go over your taxes. I pay mine quarterly now so that I don't have to pay so much, but just having somebody who is well versed in that area has definitely helped me this time around. So financial advisor, tax preparer. Also, with that being said, the beautiful thing about travel nursing is this is a, what is the word I'm looking for? This is a very, this is like fast money. Like, I hate to equate it to this, like, but imagine being like a stripper or like a drug dealer. Like, you get that fast money like that. That's what basically being a travel nurse is. This is a very quick way to stack your bread, pay off your debt, whatever you need to do. And so I would definitely encourage you. I say that to say this. I encourage you to stack your money, because with travel nursing, it fluctuates. Your contract may get cut, your rate may decrease. Anything can happen. And I think it's just very important that when you get in these checks every single week, that you put a money aside as like a cushion, because that's the thing about travel nurses. It's I don't want to say it's unstable, but there are a lot of different factors that can come into play regarding your money. And so I'd rather be safe than sorry, and not spending every check and putting aside money just in case, maybe you don't want to work. Maybe they do cut your contract short. Like the hospital that I'm at now, they hire too many damn nurses. Like, it's too many of us to the point where people just kind of like sitting around because it's no patience to give them. So eventually they're going to start cutting. They've already started cutting contracts short. And so, you know, you just don't want to be in a situation where you depending on these checks to come every single week and then you get cut. Now, granted, there are never going to be a shortage of travel nurse jobs. Like, if you get cut from one contract, you're not going to have a problem finding another contract. Now, maybe at a good rate you might, but for the most part, like, you'll be able to go find another contract. So I would definitely recommend stacking your money. Also, the good thing about travel nursing is you know that you are there to meet a need. And because of that, you really rack up on overtime. Like, obviously, you are there to meet a need. I have never been to a hospital where they was like, no, you can't pick up a shift. Like, they want you to pick up shifts. So if you are the type of person who likes to work, because y'all know I really don't like to work like that. I just do my 3 days and I'm out. Like, unless I have some type of financial goal, like, it's very rare that I'm picking up shifts. I just stick to my 3 days. But if you are the type of person where you like, well, I ain't doing nothing else, I might as well work, it is definitely a good opportunity to pick up shifts and make that extra money on top of the good money that you are already making. So definitely, I definitely noticed that. I wish that I was the type of person who wanted to pick up shifts, because if I did, I would rack up. But honestly, I just be so content with the money that I'm getting that I'm just like, I don't know. But I know I'm going to look back and be like, damn, you know, especially on some of these good paying contracts, I'm going to look back and be like, damn, you should have picked up some more shifts while that money was good. So don't be like me, be better than me if you can. If you had an opportunity, pick up them extra shifts and make that extra money so you can stack more money. I think that's it about as far as like the rates and the money wise that I have learned thus far. So that's another thing I want to say about the rates. I think a lot of people, how can I put this? Because it's really based on preference, and I'm not knocking anybody for wanting to do a 10K a week contract, but you also have to figure out what's best for like your well-being. Usually when you are when you are getting paid like 10K a week, you're usually working 6 days a week. Now, there are certain instances, because I have a friend who is in Texas and has been in Texas for a month and has not left his hotel, and he is making 10K a week on standby. Those are very rare situations. It doesn't happen to everybody. But typically when you are getting those higher paying contracts like that, you are working like 6 days a week. For me, I just don't have a desire to do it. Like, I don't want the money that bad. Now, granted, I'm not about to sit up here and play like that's not good money. That is phenomenal money, 10K a week. I guess if I had a set goal, like maybe if I only did it for a month or something like that, that would be fine. But it's just not desirable to me to go work 6 days a week. And you can be on a crazy assignment where you got 7, 8, 9 patients. It's just not worth it to me. And so that, like I said, that'll be on preference. If you the type of person who could do it, when I say go for it, go for it. But then also remember, the more money that you make, the more that we get taxed on. Like, maybe not taxed in the sense of how much I was making, but most of us are making our money based on the stipend versus our hourly rate. That's where you rack up on the money, because that money is tax free. And so I guess if I was giving advice to myself or looking back on it, I don't think that I would take those contracts, just because, one, I don't want to work 6 days a week. I already know I'm going to be in a stressful situation. It's just not going to be good for my mindset, and it's not going to be good for my health. However, if I was working towards a certain goal and I had a certain date in mind, like I know my friend Anna, she went to California and she only did it for a month. If I had it set in my mind, like, okay, we only doing this for a month, I could probably do it. But for the most part, I'm not really big on going for a contract based on like how much. No, I guess I need to word it better. Like, I'm obviously going based on how much I'm getting a week, but I'm not pressed to be doing a contract where I know it's going to pull so much from me just because of the number that I'm getting every week. But again, like I said, to each its own. That is just really based on my personal preference. And also, you know, when I think about it, those contracts are not, these are not contracts that are out there like every day. So even if you did decide to jump on something like that, like I wouldn't even be mad at you, because like it kind of comes every so often, and when it do come, it's like, yeah, jump on it. But just for me, I know I don't want to work. I have no desire to be working 6 days a week just because I'm making extra money. So that is also something that I learned about myself, that I don't like to work. Your girl does not like to work like that, because it's just a very hard profession, and it doesn't even seem desirable to work 6 days a week. When people do that, I know somebody who's been in Texas for like 5-6 months, 6 days a week. She's racking up the bread, and I commend her for doing that. But me, it's not happening. So that's basically what I've learned when it comes to the money aspect of travel nursing. Another thing that I have learned, I haven't really experienced like nurses being like negative. If anything, they are really happy to have you there. However, there will always be a situation where you have that one person, and I did have one person actually in a contract that I'm on now. Because of, remember I said, like, they've hired so many nurses that there have been times where I've come in and I don't even have a group assigned to me. I'm just like a resource nurse. Yeah, I'm a resource nurse. So basically I'm helping get in vitals. If a nurse is like behind, I'll go pass her meds, stuff like that. And I remember one night, I'm pretty sure she just had a lot going on, because she's been nice to me ever since. Not because I even checked her. Maybe she felt bad about it. I don't know. But I ended up walking in on one of the nurses talking about me, basically. She was like, oh, I wish I got paid that much money to sit around and do nothing. Mind you, I wasn't sitting around doing nothing. I was helping everybody out. I was taking out trash. I was doing vitals. It was just one of them snarky comments that it really had nothing to do with me personally. She didn't really have no gripe with me. It was more so with herself, because everybody honestly doesn't have the opportunity to go be a travel nurse. You know, if you got family, if you got small kids, if you a single parent, like there are so many different factors. And honestly, being a travel nurse is really a privilege, because like I said, everybody doesn't have the opportunity. And I think that's where her situation was coming from, kind of knowing more about her now that I, got to be around more, is that she was more so mad that she didn't have the opportunity to go out there and make the money that I'm making. It wasn't about me sitting around and doing nothing. It was more so about her. But for the most part, and when I walked in on her, and I was like, but I'm here to help you. If you need help, say that. This don't have nothing to do with how much money I make. And she was like, her face was so red. She was like, because she didn't expect me, one, to even hear it, and how I literally walked in as she was saying it. But she been cool to me ever since. But for the most part, I never experienced nurses being mean to me or being rude, or I never experienced that. Like, they are all like some of the nicest people, the coolest people, the smartest nurses. They just be in situations where shit, if they had the opportunity that I had, they'd be up out here traveling too. And so they're more grateful than anything. But also be prepared for that. Because it's not, I don't know, maybe it's just my experience. But I do hear people say like, oh, I went to this facility and they nurses was nasty and nobody wanted to help me. Like, you have to be prepared for that. And that's why it's important that you develop your skill set. Because if you get in a situation where, you don't know what you're doing, or you need help with something, but you don't really have the best team, you just don't want to be caught slipping like that. And so it is very important that you develop your skill set, just so that you don't necessarily have to depend on people to help you do anything. But also, don't be naive about it, because there are going to be disgruntled people. There are going to be people who are mad at you for being able to have the opportunity that you have. It has nothing to do with you personally. It's more about them. And so I have definitely been, I'm grateful that I haven't experienced that, because I don't think I would, typically, as long as nobody disrespects me, I don't even think I would entertain it. Like her, I don't even entertain it. I'm not about to be there that long. I'm not about to go back and forth with you. I'm not about to be mad at you. I know that has nothing to do with me. But there can be toxic environments that cause you not to even want to be there. But for the most part, everybody is nice. But I do know, like, I'm not naive. Like, there may be a facility that I go to where they just not really messing with me like that, just because of the opportunity I have to go out and make more money. All right, y'all, so that's the end of the video. It was really straight and short and to the point. I mean, travel nursing is not as scary as it appears. Once you get your first contract down, it's kind of like, it's pretty much the same thing all around. You there to meet a need, you do your time, you get in, you get out. It's not really much to it, but I just wanted to kind of do this video to kind of just talk about like what I've learned thus far, the things that I found interesting, the things that have helped me, the things that like kind of have been on my mind, in hopes that it will kind of help prepare you guys on your journey if you're already not starting, which I'm so proud of a lot of you. I get so many DMs about people saying like, I'm about to do my first contract because of you. You inspired me to go ahead and make that leap. Like, this is what I do it for, because I really want y'all to go out here and do it. It's such a great opportunity. So congratulations to all of you who have finally decided to take the step and go be a travel nurse. So I hope this video was helpful. Hope it gave y'all some type of insight or understanding into the world of travel nursing and what I've experienced, what I thought was important, how I kind of maneuver with things. And I will talk to you guys in the next video.